thank you, President, for giving me the floor. I apologize. It's my dog who is making noise all the time. So when somebody applauds, then he starts bluffing. So that's the way. Only when he hears pro-European messages. Otherwise, he doesn't do that. So thank you very much, President, for giving me the floor. I think it's the fourth time that I'm here in Ventotene, and I come back here. Why? To say hello to the young people who are here, to wish them an enormous good seminar, and to tell them that we organized this seminar, we organized the European movement, we organized the Union of European Federalists with Dominic. We have the young European Federalists. We are fighting, we are continuing to fight. Why? So many years after the start of the European Union in the 50s. Because Europe is not ready today for the world of tomorrow. And we need a federal Europe as fast as possible to be ready for the world of tomorrow. That's the reason why we continue this fight. When we continue to remember the Ventotene Manifesto, is in fact a basic text in the creation of the Europe, in the foundation of the European Union, and that is why we have this seminars to explain to the next generation that it's absolutely key to reform Europe and to create a federal Europe in a world which is a brutal world. This is no longer, like Josep Borrell has explained to you, the world of the Cold War, with two systems, the Soviet Union and the United States of America fighting with each other. It is no longer the world of after 1989, the world of after the fall of the Berlin Wall. We all thought, okay, history is over, European democracy is definitely this system together with free market economy, and nothing can happen. History will end. It was a book of Francis Fukuyama, an American political scientist. The end of history. The fight, the ideological fight is finished. And the reality today is that we live in a completely new world. A world where democracy is not evident. There are too much autocracies, and autocracies are gaining ground in the world, more than democracies for the moment. And it's not a world of a social market economy. On the contrary, we see in a number of countries really big companies having monopolies and so on. It's a brutal world. It's a world not of nation states, and it was the basic assumption of Spinelli. It's not a world of nation states, of 199 nation states in Iraq. It's a world of empires in which we live today, a brutal world. China is an empire. It's not a nation. China is civilization, the Han civilization. And they try to accommodate and to manipulate everybody to become Han and to follow the roots of the Han civilization in every part of China. India, second example, is not a nation. There are 2,000 nations and ethnies in India. And they speak 20 languages at the same time on that immense continent. And they have 4 different religions that they practice. And at the same time, fortunately, I would say, it's still the biggest democracy in the world. And the United States is certainly an empire. They have always thought that they be an empire. With their 50 states, with their own constitution, with their own army. We forget that every of the states in America have their own constitution, their own army, their own flag. And we have Russia. Russia wants to become again an empire with all the violence. That's the world of tomorrow. That's the world of today already, with enormous competition, not only military, politically, but also economically, technologically. That is the world. And in such a world, we can only survive if we create a real Europe, a federal Europe. That is the message that we want to give you today. And we are not there. That is still not a federal Europe. So many decades after the struggle, the fight of Rossi, and Spinelli and all the other founding fathers of the European Union. And I want to tell you, when we use the word federalism, that is the reason we want to say to the people, to the world, and certainly to the electorate in Europe, the only way to solve the problems we have today, to have peace in the world, to have peace on our continent, to be strong also economically, to also not be pressed by China economically, for example, or by America technologically, is to have a federal, strong Europe. And a federal, strong Europe is Europe without unanimity. It's a democratic Europe. That is the Europe. And a federal Europe is what the founding fathers had in mind from day one. You know, the customs union, the Treaty of Rome, was not the first element or the first wish of the founding fathers. The first wish of the founding fathers after the gold and steel community was to create a European constitution and to have a European defense community. And my point is that if we have done that, and if the stupid French have not voted against it in the National Assembly in 1954 in Paris, we would have a real defense community, not independent from NATO, but as a European pillar from NATO. It was already adopted in the 50s by the American Senate, that the NATO would have two pillars, an American pillar and a European pillar, with a European defense community. European defense community, what does it mean? A real European army, with 42 divisions, with 2,000 airplanes, with more than 10,000 tanks. That was the project of the founding fathers in the 50s, at that moment. And it is because it was not accepted at that moment that finally, after 3 years, 4 years of discussions and problems and depressions by the Gaspari, by Spark, by Monet, by Schumann, they were all depressed in that moment. And they said, yeah, let's do something, let's create a customs union. And that became the Treaty of Rome. And that started the economic unification of the European Union. But we will never play a real role in the world. We will not defend the interest of our coming generations if we do not create a real European federal union with a defense community, with a single market, not only a single market for champagne and chocolate. I'm from Belgium, and that's the reason why I'm saying that. We need also a single market, technically, digitally, so that we have our own systems, our own methods, and not only those of China, of those of America. And it is such a European federal union that we need to build up the fastest as possible during the coming years with changes of treaties. Otherwise, we will continue to in fact give money, our money, to the American tech companies on the one hand, because we are all using X and Facebook and Microsoft and Google and Alphabet and you name it, or we will be under the umbrella, maybe of the Chinese, who control through the technological features of today their people, their citizens. It's a control, in fact, authoritarian system that nobody of us wants to see develop here on the European continent. And that is the reason why we need to fight, why we need to, in fact, continue to struggle for changes of the treaty and the establishment of a real European Union. A European Union with, in fact, as Josep Borrell has said, with a serious budget. And he told it 1% of the European GDP, that is the budget of the European Union. And with this 1%, we need to solve all problems. The Americans have 25%. That's the budget, federal budget in the US. Switzerland, that's a confederation. That's not even a federation. Have a federal, confederal budget of 15% of their GDP. We in Europe, with 1%, will do everything. Organize defense, solve the problem of migration, stimulate our economy, create social cohesion, and so on. And that we all know as federalists that is not possible. Federalism, dear friends, in many countries they don't understand it. If you talk about federalism in France, then they get nuts. And in other countries also. Somebody of the Netherlands here, he knows that also in the Netherlands it's a difficult word. That's because Napoleon was once a time in your country, probably. But federalism is the possibility that we have as humans to create an organization to govern different communities, different religions, different ethnies together. It's a step forward in mankind. It's far better than nationalism, who fight against each other. And federalists don't want to, what I call, eradicate the nation states. What federalists want to do is that those competences, those problems that can better be solved on a supranational level, on a federal level, these things needs to be done by a European Federation. A European Federation don't want to replace non-member state of the European Union. It wants simply to make possible effective policies on a European level that are impossible, in fact, to manage on the level of the nation states. And the example has again been given by Dylan Bella when he talked about our defense community, the fact that we spend 3 to 4 times more than the Russians on defense are not capable, without the help of the Americans, to make our own choices and to defend our own continent. Well, that message we want in the coming days, in the coming weeks, to bring to you, so that you can spread it to your colleagues, other young people, in your schools, in your high schools, so that a new generation of people like Spinelli is born in Italy and in the rest of Europe. Thank you very much. And